I've given this a lot of thought, and I want to almost emphasize on other things separate to the entrepreneurial journey. And there's 3 or 4 topics that I just want to chat to you about. I don't have a presentation. I'm talking straight from the heart. And it's just something that I reflected over for the last couple of days. The first one is rejection, failure, and determination. There's a 4th one, I'll get to it. But let's focus on rejection, failure, and determination. And this is nice for me to be here in the NLC today, because the last time I was in the NLC was 22 years ago. I was 20 years old. I applied at Stellenbosch University to become a lawyer. I wanted to study LLB. And I put forward my application. Then I had to come through for an interview with, I don't know, a dean of admissions or someone in the admissions department. I explained my life story to this person, growing up in Mitchell's Plain, having big dreams to better myself. After almost a half an hour interview, the guy tells me, sorry, but you will not make it at Stellenbosch. Your application is denied. You can try another university, but Stellenbosch doesn't want you. And that was devastating for me. You know, like, I wanted to become a lawyer. And all of my dreams and hopes was focused on becoming a lawyer. And that was the first blow that I got as a young adult, that I'm just not good enough. And I had to pick myself up, I had to dust it off and reevaluate and change the plan. I then came across, let's say another year went past. And at the time I was 20 years old. And to give you the start of the story is immediately after high school, I couldn't study. My parents couldn't afford it, I couldn't afford it. So I had to take a gap year that turned into 4 gap years. And when I was 20, I applied at Stellenbosch, didn't make it. At 22, I think, I was accepted at CPUT, Cape Peninsula University of Technology, into their marketing department. And basically that was the only course or study course that I could do with my high school subjects. It wasn't scientific, it wasn't mathematics, it was a lot of commerce. And it pushed me into an avenue of marketing. And at the time, I didn't even know what marketing was all about. But it was the best thing that could ever happen to me, because as I stand here, 22 years later, I've experienced a lot more in life being a marketer compared to being a lawyer. Melvie touched on all the countries that I basically worked in. And in my time, I've worked in more than 20 different cities in the world. You know, like some to mention would be Tokyo, Paris, Dubai, Moscow, whatever. So many different cities. And I want to just emphasize on that, because growing up in Mitchell's Plain, you don't have those types of opportunities. You can't, it always remains a dream. It will never be a reality. But with the rejection that happened right in the beginning, and then determination, I was able to experience that. I worked in very big companies, corporates, experienced the best that life had to offer. And 5 years ago, Christynn, 5 years ago, 5 odd years ago, we decided that we're going to then sacrifice everything and start our own business. And what made us take that leap was, after working for, at the time it was about 12 years in industry, we realized that the higher you climb the ladder in a corporate company, the more they demand from you. They pay you a lot of money, but they want more from you. So you don't have personal life, you don't have family life. Everything is focused on your career, on your job. And the more you earn, the more you spend. So you don't really, balance it out. And then we decided that we want to leave that life, start our own thing, and build a legacy we've got a 5-year-old boy. Coincidentally, we was born roughly the same time as the business. And what made us decide that was, no matter how high you climb the ladder in corporate, when you retire and you're gone. They replace you. You're basically just a number. And I can't have my son or my child inherit my position in a big company. He has to start all over again. So what we decided was we're going to start a jam business. And also very interesting, we decided on jam because at the time both of us were working in the fruit industry for more than 5 years. So we had networks, we had access to raw material. And if you want to start a business, you must have access to your raw material before you can even think about having the market. Now, in our lives, we don't make 20 pots of jam a day. We make around 5,000. At a low volume, we do about 5,000 tubs per day. So it's all about having access to that raw material. We decided on jam because everyone in South Africa knows what is jam. Whether you eat it or not, it's in your house. It's in the pantry, it's in the cupboard. From the guy that grew up in Mitchell's Plain like myself, I grew up with jam. All the way up to Johan Rupert, that's also from Stellenbosch. I'm sure he also has jam in his pantry. And that was the reason why we decided on jam. It's something consumed and people know about it. We're not reinventing anything. And here's the nice thing. Nothing exciting happened in jam for 50 years. We had all gold at the beginning, and then the roads came about, and then nothing else happened. So what we do, and you might hear this name or this word often when you speak with entrepreneurs, but we came in and we are disrupting the category, disrupting the industry. We launched our jams in a different packaging format to what is normal. Normal is glass and tin. We launched in plastic. Now, you might say plastic is a baddie, but I see at least 50 plastic water bottles here. So plastic is not a big enemy. You have to just manage it and control it. So we launched in plastic because it's modern, sophisticated, convenient, and the best part is it's safe to use because a working mother can give their child a tub of jam and say, make yourself a sandwich. You can't do it with a tin or with a glass. Danger. Anyway, long story short, we decided on jam, and that was back in 2018. We wrote a business plan, we resigned our jobs, and we had a war chest to last us 6 months. 6 months without an income, savings, whatever. That will keep us going with what we had in our savings. Turns out it took us 2 years to get a loan. So we had to survive on 6 months worth of war chest for 2 years. And at the time, we thought 6 months was quite liberal, and it wasn't. We had to continue on for 24 months. Eventually, we got our loan, and then as the loan paid out, COVID happened. So, you go from not being able to access finance, you get the finance, and then immediately as you get your approval letter, we got our approval letter in December 2019. Yeah, COVID-19. December 2019. And the letter is just one part. It took another 3 months for the loan to pay out. The letter doesn't mean you've got the money. And 3 months later, the president announced level 5 lockdown. And here we're sitting with money and a business plan and a concept and a designed factory, and we make the payment, and our supplier tells us there's going to be at least a 6 months delay on building the equipment because they can't get any parts. It's COVID. So now we have to continue the wait for another 6 months. It should have taken 3 months to build and install our factory. Took about 8 months. Yeah. So that means in November 2020, we started the production line. Now we've got a building, we've got a factory, we've got raw material, no customers, not one. And before COVID, we spoke to the market. We asked, do you guys see that we can bring in another jam product? Retailers like ShopRite, Pick n Pay, Spar, everyone said, there's an opportunity. When we went back to them, and it was COVID time, they said, sorry, we're not taking any new products. The world is uncertain. People are not working. Sales are down. Interest rates are up. I mean, we went from before COVID, a litre of petrol was around 13 Rand a litre. And during COVID, the petrol price went up to 27 Rand a litre. So that means people don't have money to buy food. Retailers say, no jam, nothing new. What they're doing is they're taking out products that's not selling. So what we refer to as delisting, and we're trying to introduce. So we fought with them, and this is the second part of the talk now. It's about failure. At the time, we thought that we had failed because we're now pushing on 3 years without any income. We started with no money, no building. Now we've got money, we've got building, we've got equipment, no customers. And now you must pick up the phone and you're calling ShopRite at least once per month. And eventually the guy, the head buyer of ShopRite said, he was nice to me up until now, but he can't anymore. It's not going to happen. He's not going to buy from us. We must please stop calling. So it's back to rejection and failure. And what did we do? We had to keep on. We sold our jam to anybody that wanted to buy jam. Our first customer was Paulsmoor Prison. So the first people that ate our jam was the prisoners, because that's the only market we could access. We sold to them. They're still a customer today. And then we sold on to independent retailers. Now, selling to an independent retailer means it's not as compliance heavy as selling to a national retailer. You can get into the back door or by a window or whatever, and then you can start selling the product. The problem is the prices are very low and there's no formalities to it. And then we also realize this, you sell it to them today, they must pay at the end of the month, then they don't pay you. Because that's just what business is about. It's not always guaranteed that your customers will pay you on time or even pay you. So we continued on, we pushed, we eventually had enough product going through the factory to make it sort of sustainable. And then I think it was 2 or 3 months of still pushing on. We're now deep into year 3. And then we get a call from ShopRite. And it was someone else in ShopRite, not the person we were normally speaking to. And he said that someone in the corridors of ShopRite head office told him that he must buy our product because this person bought it at an independent retailer that has got nothing to do with any formal retailer. They tasted the jam, they loved the packaging, they loved everything about it, and they said that this thing needs to be in ShopRite. And that is how our journey with ShopRite started. It was April or May 2022. Yeah, I think that's about the timeline. 2022. And then you start with admin and bureaucracy. So the buyer says, I want to buy from you. Then it takes another 3 months for you to get the product into the store. Barcodes, paperwork, a mountain of admin. And we always say that as South Africans, we complain about the Department of Home Affairs taking so long to give you a passport or an ID. If you want to get your products into any of the retailers, Pick n Pay, ShopRite, whoever, 3 months, 6 months can take. Pick n Pay took us 4 years, by the way. And that's just based on compliance and paperwork. So now ShopRite says they want to buy from us. And we jump on board. We get the products into the stores. And we thought that it's going to be a major breakthrough for our business. ShopRite tells us, okay, we're not going to put you in ShopRite, we're putting you into Checkers. Same group, ShopRite Checkers. And we thought we're going into 50 stores. They tell us you're only going into 5 stores. And then you must prove yourself. And you must deliver. And the more you prove yourself, the more they'll support you and open up stores. And we tell the buyer, but we've been at it now for at least 3 years. Haven't we proven ourselves enough yet? Says, no, start out with 5 stores. We start out with 5 stores. Our first turnover with ShopRite in the 5 stores was 20,000 Rand per month. And now, 2 years later, We are still in Checkers, but we're in 30 stores, and our turnover with that one customer is now 200,000 in the 30 stores. So we've grown. We've lost a lot of money because it's not just easy selling in. You have to put it on the shelf, and you have to make sure that it goes into the house of the consumer as well. ShopRite and the retailers take very little risk on the product or on the stuff that they buy. It's all up to the business. So we made a lot of mistakes. We lost a lot of money. And I would say about 1 year later, now we've got everything in place. Now we are almost moving smoothly because we've learned all the lessons. And then exactly a year later, after the first products went into Checkers, we get an invitation to the ShopRite Group Supplier Awards, Supplier of the Year Awards. Now, this is like the Oscars when it comes to retailers. ShopRite puts up a massive show. They invite everyone in the country. It was in Blauklippen, here in Stellenbosch. Massive marquee stage, exactly like the Oscars would be. The CEO of ShopRite has his awards, and he's basically the star of the show. We get invited as, we thought it was just as an invited guest. 2 days later, they say, well, you've been invited, and you've also been nominated as a Supplier of the Year. And we thought, okay, we just seat fillers, because what can you have done in 1 year to win a prize? Eventually, we get to the awards, and they get to our category. Our category is SMME, small, medium, micro enterprise, and it's Supplier of the Year for the small businesses. They read out the names, and can you believe it? We won. After 1 year, after making probably 100 mistakes, dropping the ball, failing to deliver, a whole lot of issues. And then you know what ShopRite told us? We won the award because we didn't give up. We pushed on, we owned up to our mistakes, we owned up to when we were not doing what we were supposed to be doing, and we learned from it. Then we find out that there's suppliers at the awards that's been doing business with ShopRite for 25 years. First time they get invited to the event. First time someone won that's been doing business for 10 years. And in our first year, it was just about 12 months, Jacobs Jam Company won Supplier of the Year for the biggest retailer in Africa. And that, thank you, Valve. Thank you. And, you know, those little things makes you want to do it further, makes you want to get up and push on and work through the blood, sweat, and tears, because we can tell you from the bottom of our hearts, the really, like the fiber of us, is being an entrepreneur is not easy. It's tough. You can go months without salaries. You can go, you can train people up, you can mentor them. Once they're equipped, they leave you. They're not loyal. And you feel like you've raised this person up. That's what all happened to us. Anyway, don't want to get too negative. But so, ShopRite Supplier of the Year, that's one of the awards we've won. So, yeah, Christynn is just mentioning that. The year before that, I skipped this part. At our lowest point, we had debt in the business resulting in millions of rands. We had missed supplier payments. Everything was now coming down to, once again, we're about to fail and we must give up. We get an invitation from the Premier of the Western Cape, Entrepreneur of the Year Awards. We go to the awards, and this is a year before ShopRite, when we're at our lowest point, and we win that award as well. Entrepreneurs of the Year 2022 or something like that. Yeah, best emerging business, best overall business. I don't know what else. There's a lot of things. But what I'm trying to get to is that you might think on the one end you're failing, and you might think that this is the worst time in your life. But then if you keep on pushing and you're determination, then it can turn around. it can be positive and you can succeed. Now, you can almost look at me as yourself in the future, because I go back to the start of my talk. 22 years ago, I was here sitting with a heartbroken heart, crying because Stellenbosch University said I wasn't good enough. And today, 22 years later, I don't think that I should have accepted that, pushed on, changed the plan, pivot, whatever you want to call it, and eventually got to where we are today. And if you look at it, I think we're relatively successful. We still have a lot of debt. We still don't make supplier payments every month. We still have to go hat in hand and say, can we have another 2-week extension on our repayments, whatever. But as we stand today, in 2018, there was no Jacobs Jam company. Today, the company is valued at 10 million rand. We've got a positive cash flow and positive balance sheet. We listed at all the retailers in the Western Cape. We launched a product with Shoprite under their homegrown range. So it's a private label, a no-name brand. And that product we launched last month, started in the Western Cape, and it's going national before the end of the year. So we're going to be in 550 Shoprite stores. We've exported to Ghana, we've exported to Zambia, we've exported to Dubai. We've exhibited our products in Germany, Egypt, Paris. I don't know, yeah. Anyway, long story short, even though it looks like you're not succeeding, determination is something that you need to keep in your back pocket, because even if it's the most devastating news that you get today, you can turn that devastating news into something positive tomorrow. Okay, I think I spoke a lot. Maybe we can open it up to some questions and then we can take it from there. Thank you, Melvi.
Thank you, Nigel and Christynn. That was an amazing story. I can feel the pain and the heartbreak, and I don't actually know what to say to that. It exemplifies, I think, a lot of what we don't always see behind the scenes of what happens with entrepreneurship and what it takes, and it never stops, right? The things keep coming at you, and as you say, if you don't have that determination in your back pocket, then best you maybe decide on a different trajectory, right? So I would like to open the floor to questions from you guys' side. Maybe I think, I just actually want to touch on something before I pass it over to the students, and that is, you touched on it at the beginning, the social networks and the support. Like, maybe you can just quickly also elaborate on, like, while all this, tough stuff was happening, like, who are the people that were in your corner and also helped you keep things going?
Thank you, Malvi. I think the only person that I've got in my corner is Christynn, my wife. And I think that she also only has me in her corner 100%. Because during the journey, you will see that your best friends will not give you 100%. Even your family might not give you 100%. They've got their own things that they've got to worry about. So the only person that I can say that gives me 100% is my wife. And I think for her, it's the same on my side. We can rely on each other, and we fight a lot. We fight so much. But that's part of what we wanted for ourselves and what we're working towards. Okay.
I think the more concerning thing is when you're not fighting, right? Because maybe it means you're avoiding the difficult stuff, or there's not something to be passionate about. And I think what absolutely exudes from you, and clearly from Christynn at the moment, is the absolute passion for what you're doing and the determination to leave a legacy. And I really like the idea of having Jacobs Jam as like the next Rhodes and Koo, and better than that, right? Okay, so now I'm going to open the floor to questions. Any of you guys would like to ask some questions? I saw a hand here earlier. Yes, of course.
This is my last one. So congratulations, it's amazing to hear your story. Thank you. I just wanted to ask you, and this is probably it's a pretty open-ended question, but what are your hopes for Jacobs Jam in the future? I mean, you've come this far now. You've expanded far beyond your own dreams. And like, what would be your ideal future for the company?
Thank you, and good question. So my background and Christynn's background is in big companies like Pioneer Foods, Rhodes Food Group, Tiger Brands. And our vision for our company is to expand from jam into other product categories like juice and sauces, and the golden thread and the item that's always seen consistently is fruit. Our factory is in Ceres. You mentioned I grew up in Mitchell's Plain. We've been living in Ceres now 12 years, and our factory is there, and all the fruit is around us. So it makes sense for us from a value chain perspective that we expand in fruit, and our relationship with ShopRite is very good. So if we present a juice to them, they're going to consider it. If we present a sauce to them, they're going to consider it. The hard work happened 2, 3, 4 years ago. So now we're in the circle. And we can expand on that. And any entrepreneur will tell you that when you speak with a retailer, you need to have a basket of products. And in most business as well, because you talk about your loss leaders and your stars. So your loss leaders are the products that's maybe not making money. Jam is one of those products. You don't make a lot of money on jam. But then you introduce a sauce maybe, and the sauce is your margin driver. So you've got your volume on the one side, you've got your margin on the other side. Then you launch another product, and eventually you'll see that one person from selling one product is now selling 10 products, and it's still just one person doing the selling. So you try and, ease your costs in that line. But that's the vision for our product, or our company, is to launch a food group of companies and not just stay in jam.
Okay.
That's amazing. I love it. And I'm thinking of, the Latin leaves me at the moment, but the saying patience bears fruit. And I think that's beautifully applicable for your business. I will send you the Latin on a WhatsApp. While you were talking, I was also thinking, and now with the question in mind that you've just answered around growing your company. So we were also been talking about some very pragmatic things around entrepreneurship today. So how would your plans look in terms of securing the funding to facilitate this growth that you talked about?
Okay, so one thing that we've been doing since the start was access to funding and finance. It's a very important part of our business. We don't have our own money, and even though I thought that I don't have any rich uncles, so we can't just go and ask uncle whatever for a loan. So we work with the South African government, and all of the funding and expansions and capital requirements that we need, we work with them through the Department of Trade and Industry. And you might not believe it, but what the president says every now and then, that we need to support small business. The government is incubating small business. They're driving small business. We are a success story within the Department of Trade and Industry. We've raised 9, 10, maybe more million rand through different functions of government funding. It's not all grants or preferential agreements. There's debt. There's a whole lot of ways of accessing finance, and the government is sitting on that money. The only problem is it takes forever to access it. If you put in your application today, you get an answer a year later, and if the answer is yes, a year after that, you get the money. So it's continuous work, it's continuous mining at it, but the government has got money to support any small business in South Africa. And the way the system is designed for the entrepreneur to give up. So the money is there, and the entrepreneur puts in his application. He doesn't get an answer for 1 year. 9 months later, he gives up, he walks away. But what you should do is just keep pushing until you get your first, and then you get your second, then you get your third, and eventually they just, I don't want to say throw money at you because you're so determined, but they give you access to the money that's sitting there. And the way it's designed is it's designed to tire out the entrepreneur, and the entrepreneur gives up. My details are also freely available. If you have any questions around accessing finance, where do you start, who do you speak with? I've done the homework. I've done everything that I could do to be successful in accessing finance, and I can share it with you so that you don't have to go through the same pains.
That is an incredibly kind offer. Thank you so much, Nigel. I think it's a big question for every entrepreneur, and I think I mentioned it earlier today, but also something that you become aware of in the entrepreneurial space is there is a lot of goodwill, a lot of sharing. So, but you need to connect into it, and it's also a case of paying it forward, and also sharing that with others. So when you undergo your learnings, and I think again, thank you for being here today. And actually, Christynn, I want to ask you to come to the front as well, please. We can quickly get you guys both on camera. Your story was amazing. It's inspiring. It's Aina, it's Saw, it's tenacity, it's determination, it's everything. And I think you guys can be so proud. And I think from all of us here at SBS Ed, all the students, and I think I'm definitely not speaking under correction, we really wish you the best, and we would love to see the Jacobs Food Group, the name in lights in future. And thank you so much for sharing from your story. It was absolutely inspirational. And yes, you guys, don't take up the offer lightly, or take up that offer about talking about finance, especially if you are thinking about the entrepreneurial route. As you guys have heard over and over again today, it's not just somasua like that, it's blood, sweat, tears, so you need to be ready for that, and it's have someone in your corner. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. I'm going to make my last pitch. In Stellenbosch, our jams are available at every Spar. Die Boord, Helswachter, Checkers in Eikenstad Mall, ShopRite all over in Stellenbosch. So you guys are now customers, I believe. So tell your families about it. And then also, I'm old, so I'm still on Instagram. I run the social media of the company. If you are on Instagram, I know you guys are young, so you probably think Instagram is for old people. TikTok, we're not on TikTok. But if you see our page on Instagram, our story is on there as well. It's Jacobs_jam_co. And you'll see from the first post will say Jacobs Jam coming soon. That was like 5 years ago. And then our whole journey is in there. If you feel like you want to engage with us on that platform, please do. We're also on Facebook, but tell your grandparents that we're on Facebook. And then, my details, if you want to WhatsApp me, it's the best way of communicating. I'm at least 8 months behind on emails. So you can ask Malvi, it's a struggle, but WhatsApp immediately and just mention Young Minds, Stellenbosch, Nielsen, and then I can engage with you on that platform. But thank you so much for allowing us to share our story. It was a pleasure. Thank you.